Hello and happy Friday. I can't believe how fast this week has gone, and it's Friday already, but I'm excited. I have an in-home party tomorrow, so I get to add one more day of fun into my schedule. Those parties that happen in-home, I put a lot of work and effort and time into preparing for, so sometimes people ask, well, will those cards show up on a Facebook Live? And how I do that is since I'm putting the cards and doing them in front of the guests there at in-home parties, those cards I just take still shots of, and I will be posting those on this Facebook page so you can still get the inspiration and nobody will feel like they're missing out on anything that they're not seeing live on here. Hi Tori, hi Lisa. So be looking for some of that maybe this weekend if I get time to upload them before I get ready for the party for tomorrow morning. But until then, I'm continuing on and continuing on with my September. I'm trying to read you guys who's all joining. Hi Leah and Carrie and so I'm trying to read who's there, and so it's Friday, so I kind of feel like everything is a squirrel. So today I am continuing with my September virtual stamp camp, and I'm really excited about my card today. I kind of had something in my mind on how I wanted it to come together, and like anything that we're creating, things change. We think we know what we want, but pretty much it kind of stayed the same, but I just kind of added different products to kind of one up some different steps. So hopefully I see I'm on my Facebook Live here. Hopefully that stays connected and I will show you the card. So today's day number 3, card number 3. Okay, whoops, too close. Okay, so I'm featuring that Good Morning Magnolia. I had to think of the name of that big flower. And since I haven't done stamp camps for a while, and one of my staples was often providing some kind of maybe sympathy card. I hope this doesn't look too bright and cheery, but I kind of just did the thinking of you so that it could be used for anytime you're thinking of somebody. So thank you, Tori. And so I'll kind of get started and show you kind of how I did the coloring on this, and the supplies that are used for this are coming from the annual catalog. So let me get my camera switched around here, and one more notch down like so. I'm going to get my iPad there so that I can see you guys, and that kind of wanted to bomb out a little bit, and we'll see if I can get that restarted. But in the meantime, I am going to get to this flipped around so you don't have to keep waiting. Okay, you guys are always so patient with me. Okay, so annual catalog here if you like to follow along, and Good Morning Magnolia is on page 34. So here it is, and it shows that big new embossing machine, die cut machine, right on that same page. So I'm loving that. I'm going to show you something that is new with that today. So yeah, that's page 34. And then if you're interested in the dies that I'm using today, those are on page 182. And then the other thing that I'm pulling in that was kind of a surprise to me is the stacked stone. It's a background stamp, and when I saw it in the catalog, I'm like, oh, I really like that. I think that could be fun and look fun in a lot of different colors on top of a lot of different cardstock colors too, and ink color combinations and such. So and with fall hunting coming up, and I kind of get sidetracked. Like I said, everything's a squirrel today. I want to start doing something with my camouflage background stamp too. So there they show it in pink, but I think I need to do something. And Sherry, my sister-in-law, just joined in. So yeah, I think I need to do lots of cards using my camouflage background. Probably not in pink, but there's a lot of guy colors that I could incorporate that with. So that's my squirrel moment. Hopefully I can stay on track as I just bumped my thing to complete the card today. So here it is looking at you, full frontal there, and so you can see the thinking of you, and it's not backwards. So Good Morning Magnolia. here is one of the larger stamp sets, and it always comes with a rubber band when it's more than one. And I really, really, really like the hello, the thanks, and the thinking of you, as well as some of the other sentiments in there. And in fact, this is one of them that when COVID first started, I pulled out the stamp set to use this sentiment: the journey of life is best shared with a friend. We'll get through this together. And I made some cards using that sentiment just because it really fit well for the occasion. So that's from that. And then I'll show you the stack stone here in a little bit, but you can see it's one of those larger background stamps. So let me get started. I think first, I always struggle with what did I do first, because sometimes as I think I know what I'm going to do with my card, things change, and so then I kind of almost forget what I started with when it comes to what I'm doing. Okay, so I think I am actually going to start with making that background on my card here. So once again, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 is that measurement. And then for my background stamps, you guys might laugh at this, but because they're cling mounted, and instead of needing to buy the largest acrylic block, well, I do have that, but like for a project like today, that flower is so large. I am using my largest acrylic block already to put that flower on there. And so since that's kind of taking up that spot, and even if it wasn't, I often just stick, because these things are so sticky, I stick it right to the inside of my case, and then I can just take this and rinse it underneath my sink, pat it dry, and just leave it just like that. And so it stays really nice like that. So I'm going to use my basic gray ink pad. Hi Sarah, hi Barb, hi Donna, hi Carol. It's Friday, guys. I'm so excited. Okay. I think there's just seems like this ink pad's really juicy, so I'm trying to lightly tap on there, just the ink. And then what I'm going to do is lay this on top of there. What I like is that the stamp is bigger than the card front, so it's not like I have to be super duper careful. And I'm just going to kind of shimmy this extra acrylic clear block, and I'm just always trying to have an extra one hanging out when I use these backgrounds. So I just lightly push that over it, because I thought even if it's lighter and darker in some areas, I'm good with that, just because that kind of texture can look kind of fun and distressed that way. But it turns out that because it was pretty inky, a lot of this just is showing up 100% inked on there. So that is the stacked stone background stamp there. So I can set that aside. Hi Connie, happy Friday. And then next, I think what I'm going to do is take this Granny Apple green strip, and I love this color combination. And so the two colors together, Granny Apple green and basic gray, really pop well together, which is fun. So I'm just going to take that and run it through my machine here. And so let me find the embossing folder. Kind of had things set and stacked here so I could talk about it. So the embossing folder that I'm going to use is the Subtle Dynamic Textures impression. Yes, Linda, thank you. I think that is going to be a really fun background stamp. I can't believe I've waited this long to take it out and use it for the first time. Okay, so this is one of the older of the 3D, or when it says texture impressions, you can see how thick this thing is. And so they don't sell these in this thickness anymore. You can still get the subtle embossing folder, but it'll be a little bit thinner. And so with that, if you have any of these styles, there's like the tin tile, there's this one, and just a couple other ones that are thicker. So what I like to let you know for layering, if you have the new machine, and this only applies to the new machine, that you'll do platform number 1, and then you'll stick the cardstock in your folder like so, and then you'll only need a cutting, just a regular cutting plate. So normally with all the new 3Ds, you will use platform number 4 with them. So I kind of brought it out here, so I will tell you the difference. But when it's the old-fashioned ones and only with the new machines, do you need this? Oops, and so I'm just gonna push that through like so. And then we have, ta-da, the subtle. And it is subtle, but it is mighty. Let's see, I'm trying to think if camera, sometimes the camera does a really good job. It's kind of like egg peel, or what do you call that? Eggshell. There we go, eggshell on on a wall if it's painted. This isn't maybe here. Maybe here. Okay, now the camera's starting to pick up a little bit, but just kind of a nice subtle look. So that is that. And then next, what I'm going to do is stamp out, to pull it over here, my big, large Magnolia. This thing is huge, okay? So once again, I'm doing kind of laying down the stamp part like I did with the background because it's so large. And I'm just going to ink with my Memento Black. And it's really important that I'm using the Memento Black ink pad because I'm going to do watercoloring. When I do watercoloring, the Memento Black won't bleed. So this I'm just going to flip that over. It looked like there was a little mark on there. And let's see, where's there gonna be space? Maybe I assumed this would fit. Nope, it fits. Okay, I am just going to press that down. Hi, Julie, thanks for popping in. Okay. Now set that aside like so. So we have this huge Magnolia there. Some people like to, on this big piece of paper, color it and then cut it out. I don't ever trust myself that what if something I put all the time into cutting it out or coloring it and then it doesn't cut out right. So this is what I am most excited about today, guys. Number 5. So I've never used on my Facebook Lives the platform number 5. This is the new magnetic specialty plate. So what I read is that this entire plate is magnetized. So like with the old one that I love because it kept things in place, you could tell, especially on mine that was really wore out, you could tell by the little dots on there kind of where the magnets were. And I just talked with somebody today that said sometimes they're frustrated because you'll put down especially a small die and it'll kind of jump. Well, this shouldn't have that problem. Today's not a good test because this is such a large die. Hey Lillian. Okay, so I am going to use the big platform here, number 1, and I do need the shim for number 2, I think. So like I said, this just came, so I hope I'm doing it right. And then number 5, and so that's going to take the place of one of the cutting pads because this is self-healing too. And so of course, like anything, when I get a especially a specialty plate, I always wonder, should I be on this side or cutting on the other side? And I would surely think that you would want to see the 5 to know you're putting it in the right way. So that is where I cut. And looking at the other side, I don't think it looked self-healing. And I think this is the way it looks. And it did look like it would heal nicely. The thing that they did say that was important with the new specialty plate is to rotate where you put your dies because it will last or help make your mat last longer with the self-healing too. So I feel like this one, because it's so large, kind of takes up the whole mat. So I feel like we are covered. So I'll just put that one last cutting plate on there, like I said, and crank that through. Everything stayed like it was supposed to be, and this is gorgeous. And you can hardly see, you can see like a faint trace where that cut through, but not a big chunk or anything. So I'm also excited about that because anytime we're not taking out a big chunk, it seems like it'll last longer and hold up better. So that big die is from the Magnolia Memories dies, in case you're following along in your catalog. So now what I want to do is color this in, and I've been doing lots with the blends lately, but today, let's see, I'm gonna maybe even crank this down a little bit closer, and I never know if that's my friend or my enemy, because sometimes my hand gets in the way anyway. But I have these new in the catalog this year, the water painters, and they are a 3-pack. So I have the really large tip still in there, but I'm going to use kind of the tinier tip and the medium tip on here. And those are kind of the ones that I like to use anyway. The large one I use more for like a background. And so what I'm going to do is just add a tiny little bit of the Granny Apple Green re-inker, and I'm going to put that right in the tray of my Granny Apple Green ink pad here. And then by squeezing on my watercolor brush, then I can water that down like so. And I'm just gonna give these leaves kind of a light watercolor wash. And sometimes when I see different projects, they hardly give it, you know, any kind of a color, and they don't always go straight to the edges. And sometimes I need to let that go, where if it's darker in some areas and not even colored in on other areas, sometimes leaving things white is just as important. Sometimes it's hard for our perfectionist eyes to do that. I don't even think I'm quite a perfectionist, but sometimes that's hard to do. So you can see though, we're doing this kind of color wash would really save time, where if you're like, that's a pretty big flower, I don't know if I want to take all day to color that in, but you can see doing kind of this type of painting, coloring in with that watercolor technique really doesn't take long. So all of the green is done there, and then what I'm going to do is just take where you can see on my ink that it's darker, and I'm just going to tap my brush into that kind of, and just kind of go up the middle of the leaves a little bit more. Hi Diane, better late than never. Even though you think you're coming in late, still have a lot of the project left to do. Hi Linda, thanks for joining in. So I'm just kind of going down all those leaves to give it a more natural look like you would see in nature, and just kind of fill that in like so. And also you could go around the edges on all of them if you just kind of wanted to really make it look like it's encased with that too. So maybe on the bigger one I might do that, just because there's so much to it. I can just kind of swipe it down like so to add that. But I'm not going to get really too fanatical about that. Okay, so I want to hold it up to the camera. And these, I mean, you are picking up water, you are picking up ink, but I don't feel like it really soaks. And you could use the watercolor paper. Another thing that I'm fond of, but I didn't use today either, is the shimmery white paper. This is just white cardstock. So look at how those leaves just kind of pop with a really quick effort of coloring. And I'm gonna set that one aside and then swap out to Smoky Slate. I'm gonna cap this, and then I'm going to pick up the other one. And I'm just gonna do that same thing. Pretend I have poured in the re-inker, and I'm not gonna add more because it doesn't need more. And I always feel like I like to start where the least, or maybe the most watered down, the least amount of dark color is, because I feel like we can always add instead of take away color. So I'm just gonna do that same color wash like so over this flower. And if I go outside of the edges, I don't think that's gonna matter too much because there's not a lot of edge there. But once again, you can see how fast this is. So I used to think, I'm not really like fond of coloring things in, but man, if I could do everything at this speed, it wouldn't be bad at all. So then I'm going to go back to an area that is darker here and just kind of go along the edges like so in different spots, and then kind of around the center where a flower would naturally be a little bit darker, and just kind of feather that out a little bit. And then there's a couple petals that kind of just look like they should be darker, like they're folded in. And then along the base part of the flower, I feel like that needs just to have a little bit of darkness too. And you could almost, because it's smoky slate, go and cover the edges of this flower where it's cut, and just kind of cover that in there if you wanted to, and make it look like it's shaded. And I'm just going to add a little bit more color all the way through. So we have that with some areas looking darker and some lighter. And then I need to pull out the green a little bit again and just give that a little bit of color in the center to make that kind of pop and coordinate. So I'm going to set this aside like so. So like I said, just using the re-inker bottles and re-inking right in the tray of the ink pad there. And I'm gonna cap these. Usually, like when I'm changing colors too, to let you know, I just give it a good squeeze and rub it out on some scratch paper until the color bleeds all out and is clear. Then I know it's good to go, and I can use any other color too. So I could do that with the green as well, and then I could switch to anything like even as light as yellow and know that it's all ready. So they're pretty easy to clean up and do that with. And then I'm just going to open up my black ink pad again and take a little square or scratch of Whisper White. And then the Thinking of You, that comes right in that same stamp set from the Good Morning Magnolia. And I have the 1.5 inch circle punch here, 1.5. Forgot to check and see if that's still in the annual catalog. It might be that they discontinued the size, but there's always a die that would be similar to if you have the circle, layering circles die. So that basically just fits right in there to punch out. So now it's assembly time. So I'm going to pull out my base card here, and the subtle embossing folder usually has one side that's a little more design aware than the other, and so I'm going to put the more subtle, the tape on that, and the less subtle that you can see the design more, make sure that that's on the top. And this strip is 2.5 by 5.25 there. And then I want to make sure that I have enough space for this Thinking of You, both so it's not going off the bottom or off the side. So I just kind of hold it there until I know where I'm going to put my flower. Hello, Rosina. And so today I have just this little scrap of dimensionals that I'm kind of using up, but it's perfect for this, for the fact that I can take these little pieces here that are strips and just cover a large area of my flower that way. And so it's times like that where it's like these little strips are perfect. And so I'm just gonna do that as much as possible until I've got kind of all of those used up. And then I can go with just some of these single ones and grab a few and put some of those on. Oops, don't need that many. On like so. Okay, and then I'll take the tops off of those. And I kind of peeled the edges off, the edge piece top off around the whole outside. So these are all sticky. So like I said, I'm just kind of holding this in place so that I know where I want it to stay in place. And then this, I'm just going to put like so that it fits. And it's a really big stamp. So it's kind of like, yeah, you have to kind of work that out how it's going to be. And then let me take some more of my dimensionals here, and just going to kind of put about 3 of those on my thinking of you circle, like so, and take those little sticker papers off. And then that's going to be here, just gonna kind of tuck. I wasn't sure if the circle would look too odd shaped in comparison to the flower, but I love how it just kind of tucks and molds to that shape there. Actually, I'm trying to think, it looks a little crooked. Kind of pick it up and pull it over there like so. And I could leave it, but my accessory of the day that I want to add to it is just some basic rhinestones. Hey Shirley, haven't seen you for a while. Thanks for joining in. So with my basic rhinestones here, I'm just going to take the putty end of my take your pick tool, and I'm going to take one of the larger from the bottom, one of those rhinestones, and then kind of a medium, and put that up there, and then a smaller one, and add that kind of up above the flower there. So that kind of adds a little bit of sparkle, but not too much, in case, like I said, in case you did want to use this for a sympathy card or something. It would just make it look special without being overdone that way too. And then for the inside, since this is a September Stamp Camp card, I want it to be a usable card for you guys. So I'm just including a white inside for you guys to write, or if you want to make it be whatever sentiment you think would work best for the occasion that you're using it for. So we have that, and then in the inside, just white for that. So that is today's card number 3 for Stamp Camp. Okay, so how Stamp Camp works, because I kind of have been breaking in here and there to work on my hostess cards for my virtual hostesses this month too. So that's card number 3 for Stamp Camp. So how you get Stamp Camp cards when I'm doing them virtually now is that I'll make up all the cards completely to stay within compliance with Stampin' Up. So what you would get is the cards, all 10 of them, with a minimum $75 order. And then you get the cards for free if you use a host code that was on my workstation today. And also I'm going to do a still shot of this card, upload that, and then that will have all the supplies, and that will as well have my host code for September's virtual Stamp Camp. And if you go, you know what, I have enough supplies, but I really kind of am liking the cards, that's fine too. So if you just let me know that you want this month's cards, and if you could let me know like by September 20th, then I will know how many cards to make up in total. And the set of cards of 10 is $22. So you can let me know that way. And Lillian is asking, what folder did you use on the gray? It's a gorgeous card. Thank you. Okay, so yeah, if you were joining in late and kind of missed that background, that was kind of the best part of the card maybe. And so that actually is the stacked stone background stamp. So the stacked stone. So I was showing them how I mounted that right in the inside of the case. And so it's not a folder, it's inked up. So that turned out pretty cool. Like I said, I think it's something that I'm going to be using a lot of in different tones and different cardstocks and different inks too. So hopefully that answers your question, Lillian. It's so good to see your name pop up on my screen. So like I said, it's Friday, and I hope you guys have a great weekend. It was a short week, so hopefully you are all ready for the weekend again too. And tune in Monday. I will have card number 4 for Stamp Camp, and be bringing you something probably new and different again. Thanks, ladies, for your compliments. Have a great weekend.